Welcome back to Kentucky Sports Television. Now the Cats, of course, tonight begin SEC play in Nashville, taking on Vanderbilt. And we're now joined by Gary Parrish from CBSSports.com to look ahead to tonight, also the rest of the season. Gary, thank you for joining us. You got dressed up. I don't know if it's for us, but we really appreciate that.
I actually had some TV stuff to do this morning, so you are you're benefiting or either suffering because of it.
Yeah, oh, you look good. Norlander doesn't do that, by the way. Neither does Goodman. Goodman puts on a T-shirt and says he dresses up for us. But Kentucky tonight playing Vanderbilt in Nashville, usually a marquee game, a big SEC matchup between the two teams. This year, Vanderbilt's not very good. Looks like Kentucky could go in there and blow them out. What do you make of this game tonight and maybe Kentucky at this point in the season?
You know, everybody knows that Kentucky lost its top 6 players because they were all in the NBA draft. Vanderbilt lost its top 6 players, too. 3 of them were in the NBA draft. And whereas John can reload, Kevin Stallings not so much. So this is a down year for Vandy. Typically, this is a game that I would be at because, I've seen Florida national championship teams lose at Memorial. I've seen good Kentucky teams. I've seen good Tennessee teams, ranked number 1 in the country, lose at Memorial. It's only 2.5 hours away from me, but I got no interest in going to this game. Kentucky should roll. And this is a team that I think is, we today at CBSSports.com are just sort of giving out some different, I don't know if they're awards because we're not handing out trophies, but different titles to different things. And we're saying the most underrated team in the country is Kentucky. And that's based on if you say underrated, meaning the AP and the coaches poll, they're not ranked right now. Let me be clear. I don't think they should be. They don't have a resume that deserves to be ranked or outside of the top 50 in the RPI, which doesn't mean much, but they're also 0-4 against the top 50 of the RPI, which means when they play bad teams, they've won, or average teams, they've won, and when they play good teams, they've lost. That said, they're still a team with, 3, maybe 4 lottery picks, and Ryan Harrow's now averaging 16 points, 4 assists in his past 4 games, so he's starting to play the way we thought he might be able to play in the preseason. I say all that to say this, though I don't think Kentucky should be ranked right now. They asked me earlier in the week to pick the SEC champion, and I went with Kentucky. They asked me earlier in the week to pick 4 Final Four teams. Kentucky was one of them.
Wow. They seem like they're a team that no matter where they're seated, they're going to be the scariest X seed, the 5 seed, whatever. And the goal is, of course, every year for John Calipari to get them playing well by the time the tournament comes around. And this year, Alex Poythress is a guy that up and down has really, has not had a lot of ups. He's struggled quite a bit. How critical is he to get them to that championship level? And you've seen Cal plenty for years. How good is Cal at getting guys like that to maximize their potential?
He's the best at getting guys. I don't know about maximizing their potential, although you could certainly make that case. What he's the best at is getting a group of guys to come together and play hard together with one goal in mind, and even young guys. And that's not always easy to do. Remember, I covered Cal when he was here in Memphis, and then Josh Pastner took over. And when Josh signed the Joe Jackson, Chris Crawford, Tart Black recruiting class, Jelon Kendrick at the time, I think it was 2 McDonald's All-Americans, and it was considered the number 2 recruiting class in the country. Memphis fans were like, well, if Cal can get all those freshmen to be a top 5 team at Kentucky, then Josh ought to be able to get all these freshmen to be a top 10 team at Memphis. It just doesn't work like that for most guys. But John's been able to do it consistently, and I suspect he'll be able to do it here. They're already guarding like one of the best teams in the country. I think they're top 5 in defensive efficiency. And when you've got this many talented offensive weapons, they'll get better offensively. Back to Poythress, he needs to be more consistent, obviously. But I think the Kevin Durant's and Anthony Davis's of the world tend to spoil us. This is a kid that's still averaging 14 points a game, in the first half of his first year of college basketball. In a big picture, that's remarkable, but in this world that we live in now, where we've seen a Durant, a Anthony Davis, a Michael Beasley, a Kevin Love, we tend to expect more consistently.
When you look at the SEC as a whole, I know you said you picked Kentucky to win it. How down is it? There was an article on the Ion College basketball blog earlier this week that listed some of the disappointments, and the number 1 disappointment was the SEC this season. How down is the SEC, and how much do you think that will hurt Kentucky as they try to improve their status and get some statement wins before the tournament?
Well, it depends on how you define down, because I do think we could end up in a situation where, and I'm not predicting this, but you could have 2 SEC teams in the Final Four, or 3 in the Sweet 16, and then we'll look at it and talk about how tough the league was at the top. But in reality, once you get past those top 3, Kentucky, Florida, Missouri, there's a massive drop-off. I know Ole Miss has got a good record, and it was nice for them to go up and win in Knoxville last night. Andy Kennedy seems to be on track to get to his first NCAA tournament, but still, the gap between Kentucky, Florida, Missouri, which I think you could put in any order you want to put in terms of predictions, the gap between them and whoever you want to put 4 is a pretty big gap. And then at the bottom of the league, when you're talking about Georgia, South Carolina, Mississippi State, Auburn, I mean, they're just awful. The bottom, worse than 200 in the RPI. All of them got losses to teams worse than 200 in the RPI. What's interesting to me, though, is this. If you look at the AP poll, coaches poll right now, Missouri is ranked higher than any other SEC school. You look at KenPom right now, Florida is higher than any SEC school. And you look at a roster, and my predictions, I'm going to tell you Kentucky's probably going to end up being better than any SEC school. So it's going to be fun at the top, boring in the middle, and dreadful at the bottom.
How good is Missouri? Because that's a team that we talked about on the show we thought could potentially win the conference, and they're still ranked really high. But without Dixon there, how good are they? It seems like they keep winning, but everybody you talk to says they expect them to fall. They're not as good as they look. How good are they?
Well, I think at some point you've got to just recognize what they are and stop talking about what they don't have. Yeah, it'd be great if they had Michael Dixon. Trust me, Frank Haith wishes he had him. And they'd be better with him. I mean, a legitimate Final Four type, maybe national championship contender with Michael Dixon, because it gives them another guy to take away some of those shots from Phil Pressey. And I think the fewer shots Pressey takes, the better he is and the better Missouri is. So if for no other reason you want Michael Dixon to take away some of Phil Pressey's shot, add to Phil Pressey's assist total. But still, I mean, it's a team that's, ranked in the top 15 right now. They've won some big-time games, and they've got I don't know if he's the best point guard in the country, but he's one of them. And their front line are just offensive rebounding machines with Alex Oriaki and Lawrence Bowers. Now, Bowers is hurt. He's going to miss a little bit of time, but it's nothing serious. He'll be back. And I just think we, as a country, but certainly as a region, it's people who talk about basketball keep talking about Missouri's missing Michael Dixon as opposed to, okay, just eliminate him from the equation. Now what are they? And even without him, they're probably a top 15 team.
Now, before we let you go, a little off topic. A couple weeks ago, Kentucky's football team got a commitment from the son of the former WCW wrestler Sting. So we've been asking all of our guests, are you you're in Memphis, so I assume Jerry the King Lawler factors into this somewhere. But are you a wrestling guy? Did you get into that? Who's your favorite wrestler?
Oh, listen, when I was a kid, I mean, like Saturday morning wrestling in Memphis, which was regional, this is before everything was all national. I mean, that was the biggest thing in the world to me. I always tell people when I was a kid, my heroes weren't Michael Jordan and Walter Payton. I mean, they were Keith Lee and Jerry the King Lawler. And so, you had the fabulous ones here, and you had the Moondogs here, Austin Idol, Randy Macho Man Savage came through here. So, listen, when I was a kid, Monday night, Mid-South Coliseum, they put 9,000 people in there for a wrestling show every single Monday night, a regional wrestling show. That was massive into wrestling. I guess when I got into college was the NWO years with the WCW, and that was a lot of fun. But I think I would go back to my childhood root and tell you I was a big Moondogs fan.
Moondog, that's a new one. We have not heard Moondog. We'll have to look him up. Gary, appreciate your time. Always a great guest and love having you on here. Thank you for taking some time for us.
Thanks, buddy. It's good to talk to you.
You too.